Do you struggle with your volleys? You hit a volley and maybe the ball pops up or the racket wiggles when you hit it and you just don't seem like you can control it. And the worst part is you look next door and you see some person over there just nicely hitting volleys under control and it's not you. You might think you're just not strong enough or maybe you're just not good at net. The key is understanding this one fundamental thing, that volleys all are about one concept, which is winning the collision. Every time you volley, you are in competition with the ball, meaning the incoming ball is versus your racket. When you hit good volleys, you learn how to control that racket face and the racket at contact to win the collision, sending the ball where you want. And so it's really easy when you understand how to set up your body so you can start winning more of those collisions and feel more comfortable at net. And you may be thinking, well, it's super easy, Kevin. To win the collision, all I need to do is squeeze the racket tighter. That's not it. It's actually really counterintuitive that actually, if you don't squeeze the racket super tight, you can actually win more of the collisions. Because if you can't win the collision with the ball, you will never feel comfortable in net. You will never be consistent in net, and you will never hit those nice crispy volleys to put the point away. Instead, you'll be fearful. I used to be that way in juniors, that I'd hit a great approach shot, and if the ball came back, I really needed an easy ball to win the point. Now let's go watch the pros and see how they do it, and then let's do some progression so you can figure out how you can start winning the collision with the volley and having and feeling more comfortable when you're at the net.
Now we're going to take a look at Carlos Alcaraz's volleys. And so we're going to work up from the ground up. So I want you to notice the very first thing he does when the ball is being struck. You can see how right here, he's springing off the court. He doesn't know where the ball is going to be. And so once he comes down, you can say, now he knows he's going to hit a forehand. How can I tell? Because if you watch this toe, it's starting to move slightly out to that side, and bingo. So we know he's hitting a forehand. So the first key is making sure we have a good split step. Now we're going to zoom in really close and see what kind of grip he has. He's somewhere really close to a continental grip, okay? And when you watch Alcaraz volley, he doesn't change his grip. Some players do change their grip, so I'm not going to say this is the end-all, be-all. But generally, he's going to stay in that grip. The very first thing he's going to do is then land. He turns his hips and torso just a little bit. And what I mean right here. You can see the slight turn. He keeps the racket relatively in front because probably the speed of the ball. Now he sets up the racket face. And the number one thing we talked about is winning the collision. Look at these points here. We have the wrist, the elbow, and the shoulder. When the ball's in sight, he's lining up and he's going to push through. Now, if you watch this contact, he dominates this collision, meaning that the racket face has no wobble whatsoever as he pushes through and slightly down to get a little underspin maybe. But you can see how he's pushing through the ball. And then look how he's pushing through the ball. He's not pushing forward almost in a punching action. He's engaging his pec muscle right here to squeeze and pull that racket forward right there. It's a beautiful volley. So now let's take a quick look at Djokovic. You're going to see the same setup where he turns his torso and hips, sets the racket up. The racket head is above the wrist. Now here's the deal when he makes this volley. You can see how the ball's getting lower. And so we're going to watch for contact. Really good contact. The ball might be a little high on the strings, and this is what causes the recoil. But in general, he has really good control of the collision. And this is what makes the forehand volley really solid for him. We're going to look at it from a behind angle. You have that same turn, but what I'm really focused on is the racket. As he makes contact, boom, you can tell that in general, he controls the collision. You see there's some recoil, but what you don't see is this dramatic opening of the racket face. And that's what I mean by controlling and winning the collision. Is that as he pushes through, the racket does have some recoil, but he's still in control of the racket face.
So now that you've seen the pros do it, let's do some progressions. The very first place we need to start is not the swing, it's the legs. You got to understand, we need a solid foundation to build anything else on. Your arm is built on the foundation of your feet and your footwork. If you don't have good balance, then you'll never be able to win that collision because you'll always be so wobbly up top. So the very first thing we need to talk about is something really simple but super important, which is the split step. Why are we talking about the split step, Kevin? Because to be a good volleyer, it's not necessarily about seeing the ball, it's anticipating the ball. If you do anticipate the ball, but your feet are slow, it just doesn't matter. You'll always be reaching. And so think of your feet as having springs on the bottom of it. And the split step actually makes you faster. If I had springs and I jump and come down, the springs get compressed, and guess what? The energy gets stored and then I can release it in a direction. This is basically what your legs and calves are doing. When I push down, my calves are storing energy, and then I can push against that energy, causing me to move faster. And the timing is such that when my opponent makes contact, I should be in the air. So when they make contact, I'm coming down and using those springs to jump off in a direction. So just practice this. Next time you're watching a match and you see somebody hit the ball, be in the air, boom, and then land. And if the TV's right here, go in the direction they're going to hit. Now for this video, we're just going to focus on forehand volleys. Now we need to talk about balance. Now, the biggest mistake that I see players making is they have one or two concepts in their mind from learning volleys. First, the stomp. This one's a killer. I call it killing bugs. Whenever they hit a volley, they feel like they got to stomp. They're like killing bugs. Like, stop killing the bugs. The next thing is crossing over too soon. And so the very first move they make is this direction or this direction. That's going to kill your balance, and I'll tell you why. When we're thinking about balance, we're thinking about being smooth. When we're smooth, we can control what our racket is doing. Just look right here as I'm walking forward, just like this. Walking very smooth, and so it's easy to control. But now watch if I kill a bug. Look what my racket did. As I go down to kill a bug, my racket goes down. So we don't want that. And this is why you see the pros so smooth. So the very first drill I want you to do is something called drink of choice. Ladies, maybe wine. Men, maybe beer. Kids, water. So what this is going to help you do is understand balance when you're moving. Because my drink is filled up almost to the top there. And so what this means is if I, let's say, kill a bug, look what's going to happen. Oop, we don't want that to happen. Gotta get that off the court. What we want to do is stay smooth and balanced through our shot. And so now what we want to do is make sure when I'm moving to hit the ball, I'm balanced through the contact. And all I'm going to do is hold my racket up and meet the ball in front. As the ball comes out, I'm going to keep my balance, not spilling my drink. Okay, keep my balance. Whenever I'm moving, you can see how I'm keeping my balance. Now, even if I were to start pushing through the ball with my legs more, I still keep my balance. So I'm going to push through the legs more. Boom, balance, baby. Okay, and this is a great and fun drill. And when you get a little tired, you have something to drink. Now, the last thing we want to talk about when we're talking about movement is what I call our hitting zone. Our hitting zone, generally what I think of, is between right above my pelvis and my hip to my chest. And obviously you can get balls higher or lower, but ideally our hitting zone is right here. So what that means, if the ball is right here, I want to move my body by bending my knees to my hitting zone. If the ball's lower, I want to keep my body in that hitting zone. Now, obviously if it's a little lower, we might have to reach. If it's a little higher, we reach. So we get to the level of the hitting zone as we're moving. And so as the ball starts coming forward, what I'm going to do is make sure that I get to the level of the hitting zone on each ball when I'm moving forward. Now that we have great balance, we're split stepping. What do we need to do now? We need to talk about what's the structure. How can we start winning the collision with our swing? Well, there's a three-part phase or three-part system that we want to understand. First is the wrist, then there's the elbow, and then there's the shoulder. Now, before we even talk about that, we're going to talk about the racket. The racket acts like a trampoline, meaning that where do you get the most power and rebound from? The center. And actually for a tennis racket, where you have the throat coming up, any ball you hit in the middle here is going to feel more stable. If you hit it on the sides, this is where the racket starts wobbling. Versus the center, you can see the entire racket moving forward. So we need to make sure we're watching the ball so we can anticipate and get that ball in the center. Notice how I said anticipate and get the ball in the center. Super important. From here, our structure. Our structure comes down to now our wrist. Now, what we want to do is keep our wrist above or close to above our wrist. Why? Because when we hit it here, we have more resistance against the ball, the contact, okay? Because when it's here, now, since my wrist is here, and if I keep my wrist locked, I can start resisting things. As the racket gets away from me here, now the onus is purely on the wrist. Now, once we have this position, we want to keep the wrist locked. And even if there's a low ball, what we want to do, instead of doing this action, we're going to get our body to the level and keep it here. And if it's even lower, what I can do is I can keep this L shape here. So now the onus isn't just on my wrist, it's on my entire arm. Next leads us up to the elbow. The elbow is going to be pretty firm, okay? Now there's different types of volleys where you might see players extend their elbow a little bit, or you see some level of the racket straight. Either way, what we want to do is make sure we're not hinging a ton from the elbow. Sometimes you may hinge to create a little bit more racket speed, but you do it at a cost of also changing the racket face angle, which makes your volley sometimes inconsistent. We don't want that. Now, we have the wrist, we have the elbow, and the shoulder. We're going to use this whole thing as one functional wall, okay? So if the ball came to me and I just took the racket like this, boom, every ball is going to feel super solid. But if I'm here, boom, I could do that and it feels so solid. Why? Because every time I'm guaranteed to win that collision because I have all my force going through it. But if I were to do that like that, I'm just doing my wrist. If I do it like this, I'm better with my elbow because it's bigger, but also you see how the racket face has changed. If I do it like this, you can see how the racket face doesn't change. Now there's a secret with this, very important secret. When we move this way, and basically I call it the clapping monkey. You ever see those toys where they go ch, 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 ch? This is what we want to be doing. We're moving like a clapping monkey, okay? So here's the very first thing I want you to practice is when the ball comes, set your hands out like this. All we're going to do is clap the monkey, okay? And all you can see is I'm bringing my hands almost together. Now, then we can move it out of the way and keep it for balance and do the exact same thing. Ball went a little long. Okay, now, what's the secret you're talking about? We want to be firm enough, but not overly firm. Here's the reason why. As we move the racket forward, and I have my racket pretty much almost vertical or slightly open, we're going to get some energy that gets transferred to the racket head. Now, if you just death squeeze the racket, which you can do, and move it forward, that energy doesn't get transferred. But even if I'm really firm, watch what happens with my racket as I slow it down. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed it up and then stop the racket so I can transfer that energy to my racket head. So what I mean is this. If I'm really loose, I'll be really loose for a second so you can see it. And I stop. See that racket head kind of goes forward? But now, if I'm a little bit firmer, I get the same thing, but just not as much. It moves just a little bit. That's energy you can use to make your volleys feel more solid without swinging. Just having that little bit of energy going forward because I'm going forward and stopping and timing it, that's going to make the volley feel solid, and it's going to keep the racket face where it's vertical or slightly open. And so from here, if I have that clapping monkey and you can see how solid that is. And I'm not clinching the racket super hard. If I were to clinch it really hard, you'll feel the difference. It's a little bit more vibration. It's a little harder control because what's happening is I have to do all the work. But when I have that little bit of energy go forward, that little bit of pop without hinging, because I'm not changing the racket face, that little bit of pop actually, boom, guess what? That creates more energy that I can win that collision. If I'm squeezing it, the energy doesn't go forward, and guess what happens? Well, boom, I have to do everything to resist instead of having the natural ability, the natural power and force I create by stopping and having that racket head move forward. Now here's the biggest mistake that players make with this. They get a little too loose and the racket starts doing this action. But if you start grabbing a little tighter, you get a little bit of movement and you'll feel the difference, guaranteed. So now if we put it all together, what do we have? We have our movement, split step, the last thing we need to talk about is how to handle different type of volleys. Do I want to be going down on the ball like this if the ball's low or high? Let's see. I like to think of a bookshelf. And so we have 3 different types of bookshelves, at least in my house. You have the even one where I can push the bookshelf this way. You have the slight kind of up tier one, I can push the books up, or the sliding one, push the books down. Now, when I get a ball, I'm going to keep the racket face, or if I get a ball above the net, I'm going to keep this straight bookshelf. So I'm pushing this way. If I get a ball below the net, I'm going to push up on the bookshelf. Now, if I get a ball high, I have a couple different choices. I can still push straight on the bookshelf, or I can come down, maybe aiming for an angle. And so, if I get this ball slightly below the net, I'm pushing up. I push up too much. Now, when we push up, if my racket face is too open, the ball's going to go high. So when I push up, you can see how my racket's more vertical. I don't want to open the racket and push up. I want to keep it more vertical. Now, if I have a ball that's higher, I can just push straight. Ooh, that's really high. And so now on the high ones, I can start creating angles or even get on top of the ball a little bit more and hit it short. And now you see all the different type of volleys you can hit. It's super important that you understand this and practice and do these drills. Having a volley is great, but having a serve in a volley is still very effective. No one really serves in volleys that much. But guess what? Craig O'Shaughnessy says this is a great mix-up play and it still works almost 67 to 69% of the time. And so if you want to learn how to hit a better serve, go watch this video and then combine it with your volleys to surprise your opponent.